Hi everyone, thanks for joining the ACI's talk on our Safety Certification Scheme. Thanks to the Cannabist for hosting us at their VOXPO running over the weekend. Today I've got joining with me Isabel Alber, the lead food safety consultant for the ACI. We've got MarcBurbidge, the quality and development lead and the founder of B3 Labs. Kamila Sitwell, founder of Kolibri drinks and packaging innovation expert, and Joe Seaman, compliance lead for CBD Capital. Hi everyone, thanks for joining. So today we'll be talking about the ACI certification scheme. Isabel, I'll start with you. What is the safety certification scheme and what's it looking to achieve?
Hi, Shomi, thank you very much. Yeah, the objective is very clear. I mean, we need something to restore the confidence in the consumer that when they're actually going to spend good money on buying a CBD product, they're going to get exactly what it says on the label.
Great. It's a really good point. We did a product testing exercise last year where we tested 29 products from well-known retailers and e-commerce stores. And to be frank, the numbers weren't great. 38% of the products had less than 50% of the advertised content on in the product. 45%, nearly half of the products had illegal levels of controlled substances, which THC and CBN. One product in the second largest pharmacy chain in the country sold for £90, had 0% in it. And one product we found had illegal levels of dichloromethane. So the aim of the certification scheme is to allay these concerns, put some confidence back into the retail community, and ultimately put some trust back into the consumer landscape as well. So with that in mind, Kamila, do you want to tell us a little bit about how you've plugged into the safety certification scheme and what steps you've taken to ensure that you're not part of these horrible numbers?
Well, thank you for that. We actually, we have a bit of a story to tell. We are a new brand in the market. We've been with the CBD product in market since probably mid-April, but we were actually supposed to launch in January. So what happened was, in the middle of last year, we were approached by a leading health retailer to create a bespoke CBD product in line with what the shoppers expect. So we very quickly went into, creating a product that would be appropriate for the CBD consumer. And, the first thing was to assess the existing suppliers in market. We received lots of samples from all the leading CBD suppliers. We tested those samples. The results were great, exactly what they claimed on that packaging, on that label. We've chosen the one we wanted to work with, and created the right liquid to go into our product, into that cup. So, and produced nearly 100,000 bottles for the first batch of CBD products, which were going to go to hundreds of outlets. With order on the table, a few weeks later, when we were just about to send that product, my apologies, when we're just about to send that product to our retailer partner, we decided to run one more test. And we randomly selected products, and we realized that the CBD content in the cup varied significantly from what we initially put in there. And not only it varied significantly, it looked like every cup had a different amount of CBD in them, ranging from 10 milligrams to 35 milligrams. So we just couldn't explain that phenomenon. So we were faced with a massive decision. What do you do as a startup? You've got an order on the table. Do you just send the product and pray it will just sell and no one will catch you on the quality of the product, or do you do something about this? So we decided to do the right thing. We actually took the product back. We withdrew the product from the market. We removed the caps. We ordered some new CBD products, more testing, more laboratory testing, put the right protocol in place, testing on sample, and testing on the actual product they sell us, because those are two different things. proper controls in place, and it took us 4 months of delay, renegotiations with our buyer, and we launched the product in April. Now, we were very lucky because the retailer partner actually appreciated our honesty and our approach, despite the inconvenience it caused. But obviously it was a massive risk. And I believe there's lots of companies who are in the same situation. They know that their product might not be perfect, but rather than doing something about this, I think the commercial opportunity is too great for some of us to ignore. So that's our learning. Take it back, identify the right processes, control processing in place, due diligence when it comes to our suppliers. I mean, we are right now all over our suppliers. We want certifications and confirmation and test on everything they send. Then we tested, double tested, triple tested, 2 or 3 different laboratories at the same time, post-manufacturing and pre-manufacturing. Only then, with all the reassurance and certification, we send the product to retailers.
Wow, yeah. I can't imagine there would be a lot of brands to have taken such a risk, especially at launch. As Isabel mentioned earlier, retailers carry big penalties for not meeting timelines and things like this. So that's commendable. Joe, being a supplier of raw materials, what part do you see the certification scheme playing in your business to help brands like Kamila's?
Well, I think we've all touched on the point of trust and confidence, and that resonates across the board, and that comes from the growing methods of hemp all the way down to that end product. And I think that what this certification will bring about is to regain that trust from the end consumer, but all along that supply chain. And us as a supplier of raw material, we have that responsibility to ensure that the product that we are supplying to these end product formulation specialists is exactly what it says on the tin, as it were. And we've learned the hard way through various batch testings that we've done. As our company started to grow, obviously we saw the huge potential that we had. And we initially would start to gain a sample from a key supplier and test that for its cannabinoid profile, its terpene profile, pesticide profile. But we soon realized that wasn't enough, because as soon as we started ordering larger volumes, whilst the price points were more competitive and it gave us more of that profit margin, it meant there was less accuracy and less traceability on the product that we were then actually distributing. So what we decided to do, we actually decided to lower the order quantities that we had. So that did mitigate our price points in terms of what we could sell it at. But what it did ensure is that we could then do accurate testing on each of the batches that we got in, and to ensure there's complete traceability and therefore peace of mind in terms of the clients that they therefore spoke to, knowing that the product that we were giving them was completely accurate to the lab reports that we were giving them. On top of that, we started doing double batch lab reports as well. So we realized that wasn't enough maybe just to get one lab report. We started using 2 key accredited laboratories, third parties, so there was no conflict of interest, to then give again that consumer that peace of mind. And I think that's what we've really tried to change as a business, is to actually understand that this is a great commercial opportunity, but if you want to have the longevity and the success in this industry, you cannot go for the profit over anything else. You have to have that happy balance of having the commercial output, but with that reassurance based on strong foundations, and to ensure repeat custom, because we want this industry to grow, but we want it to grow safely, and ensure that our clients have that peace of mind that what they're purchasing from us, they can put into their end product, knowing it is going to mitigate any uncertainties down the line.
That's great. Thanks for that, Joe. So sounds like putting an emphasis on due diligence before profits at the beginning of this process, and sounds like a lot of lessons learned the hard way. So whilst we're still being here, guys, Mark, you've got 2 hats. You work at the ACI very closely with our members. You're also a founder of B3 Labs, a manufacturing unit. So what's your role in ensuring compliance and standards are met? And when we talk about consumers, clients in this respect, we talk about brands like Kamila's. So how do you ensure that you're helping brands like Kamila. So then when she's having conversations with retailers, that's as smooth as possible, and she doesn't have to recall 1,000, 100,000 bottles.
Shomi, thank you. Ultimately, being the finished product manufacturer, you're very much in the center of the operation. So you have companies like Joe's that are supplying the raw materials, and then companies like Kamila's that are creating the drinks from these inputs. So from a due diligence perspective, understanding the traceability of the products is so important. On the one side, to ensure that you're not getting batches of products that aren't up to the required standard, and then also making sure that the retailers have confidence in what you're doing. So testing is obviously something that we've all talked about in detail here. The importance of testing the raw materials that you're going to use and doing your own traceability exercise to understand the source of the plant, the extraction methodologies, and ultimately what is then within that finished product. Making sure that your own manufacturing processes are up to the required standards so that you're getting consistency between batches of finished products. And ultimately that then builds confidence for the retailers. The ACI certification is especially important in my mind for finished product manufacturers because you sit in the middle of that chain. So by gaining the certification, on the one side, you're showing that you've done the necessary traceability exercises on your inputs that you're using, but you're also showing the retailers, the brands, that if they're buying products from you, they can have confidence that right through the chain, you've got the quality there and you're doing things in the right way.
Yeah, I just want to add to what Mark is saying, that is not only doing the traceability exercises, but actually having the knowledge to understand what the paperwork on the traceability is saying, because the difference between the ACI certification and an ISO 9000 certification or a BRC certification is the in-house knowledge that is combined in the ACI. I mean, the CBD manufacturer is a hybrid. It's between a food supplement, pharmaceuticals. You know, you have all sorts of products on it, and even cosmetics. So it's you know, like it's super outsourced. So basically, you have to know the knowledge of you know, more than one industry to be able to make sense of what those traceability documents are saying, and to be able to challenge them. Because that is what this certification is about, is to actually, when a company has the ACI certifications, they actually can show in the products that they have been challenged by people who know about the product, rather than, you know, like somebody who's more learning about the product during the audit, rather than anything else. So this is the point of difference between all certification. It's not easy to find experts in CBD because, you know, it's such an infant industry. So this is where we can make a difference.
No,
So, and could I just add to that, Shomi? Sorry, just obviously Isabel's joined the team reasonably recently, and obviously we've got Parveen there as well, whose expertise is in pharmaceuticals. My knowledge is very much around cannabinoids and manufacturing processes on that area. And I think one of the most exciting things is people who are relative experts in their fields coming together, increasing one another's knowledge bases in their specific field, and actually that just over the past month, bringing those skill sets together, I feel has enhanced the operation of the ACI, and in turn will benefit our industry immeasurably.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The wealth of expertise that we carry within the team, you know, we're in, let's be honest, quite a challenging environment. You know, we all appreciate the size of the opportunity in this nascent market, but that carries with it its own challenges that we've all touched on here. You know, pulling on expertise from the food safety element, the pharmaceutical element, but then also having domain expertise in cannabis, in CBD. That is one thing that has been, I found, severely lacking. You've got all these experts that are experts in one field, and they think those skill sets are easily transposed into CBD, and that is a very shaky foundation. And we found that a lot with our members. You know, we've got a great roster of members at the moment that have the ability to say, look, we don't know what we don't know, and that's why we're ACI members. It's been quite a journey bringing some companies up to the level required, but because of the expertise that we've got in-house now, our certification is more CBD focused rather than a generic accreditation or certification. Isabel, considering all the moving parts in the supply chain, right? You've got 3 very distinct parts in the supply chain. What challenges does that pose in terms of auditing and therefore awarding the certification?
Basically, the main challenge of the CBD industry is, as any startup, you can't do anything, you can't do everything in one. Nobody has the machinery, the expertise to do all the products that they want in one only company. So there's lots of subcontracting going on. There's lots of middlemen, and basically, the longer the supply chain is, the more risk there are to actually intentionally or not intentionally get the wrong product. Fraud, substitution, adulteration, also. So basically, you have to really know about this risk in the supply chain and actually being able to challenge them properly. So the way we approach this is as Mark said very, very well, it's a team effort. You know, it's not a single person looking at the information. It's a number of people with expertise in different fields. We're actually going to challenge not only the food safety of it, but also the quality. As Kamila very well explained with this brilliant example, is the degradation of it. You know, like how, you know, the biostability, how do you know that you are going to have that amount of CBD at the end, because it degrades. You know, you might actually test it in one point, but if it has been stored in a warehouse, I don't know about CBD, maybe it's been exposed to light, it's been exposed to temperature, and at the end of the day, what you had at the beginning is not what you had at the end. So you have to have this knowledge of expertise and teamwork to actually do an effective challenge. And this is what will actually restore, as I said at the beginning, the confidence of consumers and retailers that this company has been challenged by a team of experts, as opposed to this company has an ISO 9000, which is all, you know, good and welcome. We expect them to have a quality system in place and in structure to actually, you know, manage things. But we'll also manage, I mean, because we have this expertise, we'll actually look at the labels as well. Like, for example, one of the, I saw a manufacturer of a chocolate bar calling it a food supplement. Now, to be a food supplement, you have to have it in a dose form, and this was a chocolate bar. You cannot eat a whole chocolate bar. So this kind of knowledge as well is what we actually intend to give in our certification. We're not going to offer consultancy with the certification. We're not going to tell them how to do things, but we might suggest things that they actually have to investigate and correct or do in a different way. So it's a win-win situation for everybody that goes for it. And also, as Joe was saying, I mean, the key element of this industry is to have confidence from the consumers in the brands, from the brand manufacturers in the suppliers, and from the suppliers into the raw materials, into the white label suppliers into the raw material suppliers. And once this confidence is broken, there's no going back.
Correct.
Absolutely. Kamila, you're very much on the front line with these conversations with retailers. We've mentioned the word confidence a lot. What is the appetite of the retailers at the moment, and what do you do to raise
So I can only speak about the beverage industry because, you know, I talk to the beverage buyers, so I can't talk about cosmetics or anything else. But there's something really interesting in the beverage industry. So as we are seeing an alcohol decline over the last decade, and this trend has been accelerating over the last couple of years. It had a very brief spike at the beginning of the pandemic, but it's now settled. You know, we can see retailers and manufacturers thinking, how are we going to replace that income? Where is that money going to come from now if people are not buying as much alcohol as they used to? So we are seeing now a growth in the no and low alcohol category, and CBD space fits beautifully into that category, executed the right way, because at the end of the day, no and low alcohol, you know, no and low alcohol is a drink that doesn't have the impact of alcohol, which means it can even taste great, it can look great, but if it doesn't have an impact on how you feel, then obviously the whole, you know, proposition of you have it instead of your glass of wine, it's a bit challenged because you want people to feel relaxed. CBD can do it. CBD can do it, and I think this is the very appealing proposition of you know, a CBD product, a CBD beverage that can fit into known law, be a substitute to alcohol, still have a good margin for retailers, and since we've got such a big you know, interest from the consumer side, it just makes a lot of sense. But retailers are very aware right now, and we're having a lot of discussions right now. It's happening only now, after a year and a half of educating them on, here is a new category. That's how it's growing. That's why it's growing. That's why your consumers will want it, or your shoppers will buy it. That's where it sits on your shelf, and that's how you're going to sell it. And this is the volume you're going to sell. After a year and a half of talking about those opportunities, they open to sort of negotiations, but they want reassurances because the press haven't been great. Like you said, there's lots of products in market that we know they do nothing for you. I mean, from the start, either the quality of CBD is not quite right, or the quantity, the dose, or because they've been sitting on shelf for a period of 6 months, and by the time you buy the CBD, there's literally nothing in that bottle. So the product has to be right, because we are right now at the stage of creating that category. The appetite is there, but if that product does not deliver, if it doesn't make an impact on consumers, if there is no trust in the brand, in the category, it's game over. There's no going back.
Completely agree. Completely agree. And that's why the story you told at the top of this, taking that risk at launch, is a really good demonstration of how to build trust, or, you know, if it was the opposite, how to kill it. I want to talk about your product, in particular your packaging. You mentioned degradation. You've got quite an innovative solution where it's not just a CBD drink. You know, you've got this innovative cap. Well, I'll let you tell us a little bit more about it. But in relation to degradation, how, you know, it might seem like quite a technical point, but it's a really important point because CBD degrades quite readily. So making sure that the consumer gets what they're paying for if it's been sat on a shelf for a couple of months, and what steps have you taken to allay the degradation concerns?
So here is an interesting story. So this is Kolibri CBD product, and as you can see, all our range, all our products have this cup. And in that cup, so you remove it from the product, it's a container, it's a supplement container. So Isabel has just pointed out, to be a supplement, it means it has to be a small portion. And this portion has to be dosable, right? So you can control it, and you can measure how much or how little of the CBD you use. You can taste it, you can experiment, how does it make you feel, does it make an impact, and when you feel reassured and safe, you can continue with the dosing and find your golden dose. And this is the thing with CBD, like it is with many other products, like coffee, like alcohol, you know, there's no one size fits all. Consumers know it. You know, for some of us, you need a small glass of wine to feel tipsy, and someone else will need the whole bottle to feel an impact. And this is the same with CBD. You know, we know that, you know, the impact of CBD will depend on whether you're a male or female, your body weight, your own cannabinoid system, how you absorb, you know, cannabinoids. There is lots of variables. So there is a little bit of, you know, experimentation required to find your dose. And consumers understand tinctures, right? Because that's where CBD started, and they've been playing very often with tinctures, and they could control the number of drops of CBD they use, depending on how bad your day was, and you can control how stressed you are or how much pain you feel, and you will dose the amount of CBD from the tincture. So from a drinks perspective, you know, our retail partner understood that shopper behavior, and they said, we believe that CBD shoppers want to control the substance for two reasons, because they want to tailor the quantity of CBD, but also because there's a little bit of stigma and they want to see, am I going to get high? Am I going to be hallucinating? Can I drive? Consumers don't understand that category yet. So having a few drops and then a little bit more and then a little bit less, you know, it's up to you, you're in control. Being in control is important from a consumer perspective. From a packaging perspective, you know, we also realized, and we learned it through laboratory testing, but also reading research and participating in research is, you know, we know that CBD degrades when it's exposed to light, air, but also when it sits in a bottle, in water over a prolonged period of time. So this is the thing, you came up with the findings of so many products not having the amount of CBD declaimed on label. I know for a fact that many of those CBD manufacturers put the right amount of product to start with. They just haven't realized that 6 months later, that product wasn't what it was at the beginning, hence the variance, hence the different results. And that's the lack of testing and understanding of how CBD behaves. So with our cup, it's airtight. We are now making the whole cup UV protected. And there is another thing about this cup which is quite unique. So CBD, whether it's isolate or broad spectrum, whatever format, has a little bit of a sticky residue. So very often when you buy a can of a drink with CBD in it, it sticks to the inside of the container. So by the time you drink it, the CBD is still on the inside of the container. So what our product does, it literally, the mechanics scrapes every molecule of CBD from the walls of the container straight into your drink. And this is where we've been focusing our efforts, because actually we are a packaging company and we spend a lot of time on manufacturing technology, sustainable solutions, finding products that deliver on the effective supplementing, because it's not just a problem with CBD, it's a problem with vitamin C, with probiotics. I mean, there's a reason why probiotics are only in milky dairy products, because they're not stable in water products. So how to overcome those challenges through packaging, we believe that the drinks industry could be really changed, revolutionized, especially the functional products, through packaging.
Great, thanks, Joe. Kamila, Joe, you're about to be audited by Isabel. I mean, all of your businesses are. Kamila, we've started the process with you guys. Mark, you're about to be. What do you think your biggest challenge in this audit process will be?
So I think the biggest challenge is consistency in this fact. I think that's it's a huge area. You go with the right intentions, but to have the infrastructure in place where you can guarantee same results, same packaging processes, storage processes, that has to be done in the background before you start portraying it to your clients. You have to ensure it's a rigorous process that also the whole of your team buy into. And I think that's what we've tried to foster, an environment within our team that they are not just, if it's in the sales team, they're CBD advocates. They appreciate the industry. They are invested in this industry, and that not only resonates to the clients in terms of who they speak to, because they're not just a salesperson on the phone trying to talk about a product that's really great, good price. They know about CBD. They know the derivations of CBD. They know about the endocannabinoid system, how that affects the body, and on a commercial aspect, what industries could potentially benefit from having CBD within end products as well. But consistency in that approach is going to be key in order to actually have success. So with regards to consistent lab reports, to not over purchase too many products, because as you said, the stability will degrade over a certain amount of time, so that we're not sitting on product that actually will over time become useless because the cannabinoid profile may change and alter. That for us is a really challenging aspect, because with regards to COVID-19, etc. happening, that does affect sales, and then it does also then affect the amount of produce that you bring in. So to be, you know, future-proof it, you've got to have a long-term game where you're thinking about where the market is going and not over promise and under deliver. So we want to ensure that every process is meticulously thought out before we purchase any more products, for example, and that comes from our storage, where we're storing our raw material. Is it in a darkened room? Is there any exposures to UV lighting? And to ensure that once that product is being tested, it's going to be the same consistency of product once it reaches that end client. And that comes from a team unity, that it's not just me preaching it to our clients, it's whoever we bring on board at CBD Capital. They are firstly advocates, and we have a 2-week training program which we're implementing to ensure that it's, if you know nothing about CBD, from regulations to what it actually is, you get that whistle-stop tour of everything to do with CBD, from a commercial point of view to the science point of view to the medicinal point of view. So you ensure that, you know, marketing claims, there's no medicinal marketing claims, which is one of the pillars of the charter, to ensure that there's no, you know, over-exuberance, shall we say, with a client to say CBD can do this, can CBD do that. Is to ensure what you can and you cannot say to your client, so you're not over-promising something that, you know, would catch you out later down the line. And, you know, it's a lot harder, it's a more trickier process, but the benefits of it are invaluable for both you as a company and as this flourishing industry. We want to continue the success. That's why we're all in this industry. And if we don't have these necessary procedures in place, it's not going to be around for as long as we want it to be.
No,
I just want to add to that. I just want to add to that the auditing and auditor relationship is an equilibrium. It's a two-way thing. I mean, in my 10 years of auditing, there's not a single audit that I haven't learned anything from, you know, like either it's a system or a way of working or something that is actually being for me. But also, I think from, you know, like it's a brilliant opportunity for these small companies, small startups, to get audited from the beginning and actually learn from the beginning from these audits and put the right quality systems in place at the very, very early stage before they get used to doing things the wrong way.
Mm. Yeah, and to add to that, I like the idea that it's a two-way street. That actually, if there's questions we don't know, it's not like, oh, well, we're going to then get caught out. We can have that free dialogue and that free conversation to actually then put in those procedures in place. That sometimes comes down just from lack of understanding of a particular procedure. So it's not come from any, you know, deliberate tactics to, you know, get away with a particular option. It's just lack of knowledge that we then gain, we put it into place, and then we keep growing from there, and it's a mutually beneficial relationship that we then form as part of the certification program.
And also, I mean, as part of my auditing experiences, one of the companies that I was very, very impressed with is a flavoring company in Jamaica that I went to audit, and they, you know, like, okay, they didn't have the best infrastructure, they had a hole in the wall, they had these things, you know, because they had the resources that they had. But the quality system was amazing, and that was an ISO 22000, one for food safety, especially, and special audit. So, you know, it doesn't matter how small you are or how big you are. You can make big mistakes, but you can also have very good points. And I think this is a learning curve for the whole industry. So I think we should all get together in this and actually work proactively to, you know, at the end, it's a common greater good, because at the end, the better we work, the more confidence the consumers are gonna have, and the more the retailers are gonna get into it.
And that's why we're delighted to have members like you, Joe, so we can, you know, have these open, transparent, and sometimes quite difficult conversations. You know, we've all touched on the fact that this is a new industry. There's a long way to go. There's a lot of education that needs to happen. Camilla, it sounds like you're really up on that as well, educating the retailers. Joe, creating this culture of you know, doing everything off a sound knowledge base. Mark, I'll ask you the same question. What challenges do you see in terms of the ACI audit for B3, and what are you doing to meet them?
I think a lot of the challenges come from within our industry, and as any company and any person who believes they have strength and expertise in their field, you need a combination of different skill sets to be able to really advance your business and take it forward. And no matter how good you think you are, you've always got more work to do. And what I really like about the certification is it's looking at your business, but it's ultimately there to support your business. And whilst you might think that you're doing amazing, and you probably are, and the majority of business are doing really well in what they're doing, but at the same time, there's still that large piece of work to do to really take yourselves up to the next level. And it ties in with what we were saying about the strength of knowledge in pharmaceuticals, food, and cannabinoids. And the way that we will look at companies, the way that we will certify companies and look at their processes and make suggestions, as Isabel alluded to really make them improve, is exactly what it's about for me. That's what the certification means for companies like B3. That's what the certification means for other manufacturers, that you can actually have a really deep look at the way that you work and the way that your business functions. You can take the small cracks that are there, you can fix them, and you can build really strong, compliant businesses that not only are you an enticing proposition for companies like Joe's, who produce the raw materials because they know you've got it right and you're the sort of company that they want to work with, but also for the brands like Kamila's, because if they have confidence in you and you're confident and have confidence in your ability and also your own motives to constantly improve and to be better and to reach higher standards, that will not only see your business improve and your own standards within your business improve, but that will also see the entire industry improve. And that's what we all want. We want to see a successful industry with lots of companies within it competing well together, because we have a huge market that everybody can go at, and ultimately being a success, and making it so that our industry is seen as a good quality industry. And all of the messaging about cannabis that we've seen for the past 100 years or so goes out the window, and people start seeing the value in this wonderful plant.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Part of legitimizing this industry, taking some of the stigma away, is getting domain experts from other sectors. Kamila, you'll be the first one to admit you're not a cannabis person, but you're a drinks expert, you're an F&B expert, you're a packaging expert, drawing on all of that, bringing in your newfound CBD knowledge, and it sounds like you know quite a lot, and bringing that all together. So we all share that common goal. So Isabel, you've heard a few of the perceived challenges that some companies along the supply chain will come across. How can you reassure these three companies, and by extension these three distinct parts of the supply chain, that we are here to help? This isn't a big bad auditing process that's going to scare people off, and ultimately lead to a more sustainable business.
Well, I don't know about the scary part, because I come across as quite scary, and my hair at the moment doesn't help. But but no, I mean, to be honest with you, it's all down to common sense. I mean, I've been audited as well by many companies when I've supported them in consultancy. And when you have a good auditor that is down to common sense and it's actually saying sensible things, and the questions that that person is asking is actually help you understand that, oh, perhaps here I've got a gap, that's when you add value to the audit. I mean, it's if you don't know what you're talking about, it's very, very difficult to add value. So I think that's the key thing. And I don't, I know about food. I mean, I'm learning about CBD as I go, but that's why I have Mark and I have Arbin and I have other people that I can actually rely on. And Joe put it very well. This is a two-way system. And when you work like that, then you see the company saying, I'm actually glad you found that, because I'd rather you find these things than the press. So that's the added value that we aim to have. But yeah, the scary bit, I don't know.
If I can add to this from a brand perspective, right? I do not want to be the expert on lab tests on CBD. That's what we're here for. With mums, right? I want to be an expert on the food and beverage, on the category, on the beverage category. I want to understand what drives consumers and retailers and connect the dots there. But then I want to have a reliable partner like Joe, like ACI, who will guarantee that the partners I will be doing business with, they've also been tested. They've also done their work. They've also put themselves on the line. I can't be an expert on glass, on plastic, on packaging, on beverages, and on food and CBD at the same time. So we have to split and divide, and it's those alliances that will give us that peace of mind and that, you know, reassurance that we are surrounded by experts, people who are brilliant at what they're doing, that they can be the best in their niche. We just need to bring them together. That's why we're collaborating with ACI. That's why we want to have that, you know, partnership with you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really exciting to work with brands like yours, Kamila. We look forward to really adding a layer of genuine legitimacy, not just talk, which there's a lot of in this industry. You know, I'm delighted that we work with members like you and CBD Capital and B3 Labs. It's amazing that we can execute through the skill sets that we've got to such a high level. So I guess, you know, ultimately to wrap this up, you know, we all know the size of the opportunity here. In the UK alone, by the CMC study and the ACI study, sorry, there was you know, it's a £300 million market, a market that's doubled in size year on year, despite all of these headwinds in this environment. You know, I'm sure it'll help a lot of retailers hearing this, you know, that there are steps being taken at, you know, a lot of behind the scenes work to put this trust and confidence back into the sector, so we can all see the sector flourish in a sustainable way. You know, we don't want every other week a story in a newspaper about a product with THC or a consumer getting ripped off, you know, or retailers just saying, no, we won't stock CBD because we won't. You know, we don't understand the regulatory environment, for example. And so, you know, once the ACI certification, it will start being displayed en masse. You know, look out for Kolibri drinks featuring it very soon. This is the beginning of the industry being legitimized. So again, thanks for all your efforts for working with us. You know, it's a challenging space. I'd also like to congratulate everyone on talking for so long about CBD without mentioning novel foods, which is the absolute sort of dominating subject in the space. However, sometimes there's a danger of the fact that if we zoom in on regulations too much, we forget about the consumer, we forget about retailer trust, we forget about the massive role brands have got to play. And so, you know, you know, I might have said that sarcastically, but you know, it's good that we've been able to speak on so many other important elements of the industry